Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. My name is Jessica Zarrow, and I'm the Marketing and Outreach Coordinator for Bywater Solutions. Thanks for joining us today. We have about 5 minutes until we'll get started here, so just sit tight and we'll begin shortly. Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Jessie Zarrow, and I am the Marketing and Outreach Coordinator for Bywater Solutions. Thank you for joining us today for a demo of Aspen Discovery. We are very excited to show you this discovery system that integrates with a lot of your e-content and other third-party providers, really giving access to all of your material in one place for your patrons. So I'd like to introduce a few of the other members of our team that are here today. I'm going to start with Mark Noble. Mark is the developer of Aspen, so I'm going to let him do a quick introduction.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Noble. I'm as Jesse said, the developer and Aspen Discovery team lead for Bywater. I've been working on this product for about 10 years in various forms, both contracting and working for other companies. Love the open source community and love just working on this product. Love working with Bywater on it. It's wonderful for libraries.
Thank you, Mark. We also have with us Josh Barron, who is our East Coast sales representative. Josh, you want to say hello?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And if there's any questions anywhere that's on the East Coast after the fact, you all, if you don't have my email already, I'll put it in the chat. And if you all have any questions afterwards, feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Josh. And also we have Adam Brooks. Adam is our West Coast sales representative, and I'll let him say hello.
Hi, everyone. I will do the same as Josh and put my information in chat, and I hope to hear from all of you soon. Thanks.
Thank you both. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. There is both a chat box and a Q&A. Please feel free to use either one of those to ask us questions throughout the demo. Everyone will be monitoring those chats and QAs as they come in. What we'll do is we're going to stick to a presentation of Aspen. I'll show you the front side where we'll perform searches. We will look at verberization, kind of that whole experience as we go through some of the different parts of the functionality within the system. Will log in so you can see what your patrons would see when they log into the system. And then Mark's going to be showing us what the administrative side looks like for Aspen Discovery. After we go through both of those little demos, we are going to open it up to Q&A for the entire group. So if you have any additional questions at the end, whether it pertains to the discovery system itself or to the migration process, we'd be happy to answer those questions. So let's jump right into things. The interface that you see here is a test site that we have for Bywater Solutions. So you can see we have some branding up in the upper left-hand corner. We bring in the colors from our logo, so you can absolutely do that type of customization for your system and your libraries. If I scroll up a little bit, you can see we even have a little message up top letting people know that our library is closed, but there is an extensive collection of ebooks and audio books that are available. So there's all types of customization that you can tie into your system. Very quickly, I just want to show you some of the other catalogs that are using Aspen Discovery. The first is Aspen Cat. This is a consortia out in Colorado. So you can see again, they have a full logo in the upper left-hand corner, and then they have that tie-in of those colors from their themes. Another library here is Uinta County in Utah. And again, you can see they're utilizing that message, letting their patrons know right away that the library is closed. But as I scroll through again, you can see that tie-in with their logos. Another one is Pueblo City County Library. They're also in Colorado. You can see some of the nice tie-ins that they have. And then finally, Arlington Public Library, and they're in Virginia. So again, you can see a nice tie-in with their logo and then highlights for the colors and themes that tie in. So this is very customizable, and Mark will talk a little more about this when we get into administration. So I'm going to start by just talking a little bit about the search. So the search box allows your users to come in and either search for a title, do a keyword search, or they have something hot on their mind that they want to look for. They can come right in. So I'm going to start with just a title that's one of my favorites, even though it wasn't my favorite book, Gone Girl. And you'll notice that Aspen does give us a great drop down. So it's thinking just like Google and asking us if this is what it means. And then I have an option over here where I can select either keyword or title, series author. And then over here on the right-hand side, I have a drop down. So the default is the library catalog. However, I can search in lists. I can crawl and search through my library website, or I can look in archives, and I'll go into a little more detail about those later. Aspen also has an advanced search, so if the user wants to go in and do a Boolean search or do specific filtering, they can absolutely do that as well. Once I hit that go button, it's going to bring back a list of results. On the left-hand side, we're going to see our facets. There's about 30 and 40 facets that we can browse through. So you can see here it gives our user several things that they can kind of drill down by. So if I'm looking for, let's say, just e-content, and there's a particular provider that I like using, maybe I really like using the Libby app, so I want to use Overdrive, I can select that. You'll notice if I scroll down a little bit further, I have things for accelerated reader, so you can see I have that interest level, reading level, point value as well. So that ties in from Renaissance Learning, which is a weekly feed. So that information ties in as well. As I scroll down a little bit further, you can see there's facets for subject headings, language, publication date, and so on. So there's about between 30 and 40 that you can choose to have visible over here on the left-hand side. Now, as we look at our results here over on the right-hand side, you'll see that there's a few ways for us to drill down even further. Up at the top, your user can select by images. They can select either books or ebooks, audiobooks, or movies. They even have an option to drill down and say, show me what's available right now in print, show me what's available online. And, today everyone is home, and, they're looking for things to quickly read. This is a great, great feature that they can say, just show me what's available online right now. So some really nice features there for your patrons. As I scroll down, you can see my first title here is Ferberized. And what that means is that all of my particular materials for this particular title, so for Gone Girl, are grouped together. So we have a book, an audio, an e-audio book, and then down below I have two different ebook providers, one for Cloud Library and one for Overdrive. So it's grouping all of that information together. Now, if I have a DVD for Gone Girl, or let's say a Blu-ray, that would be on a separate record. So you'll have one record that'll contain like the book, the large print, audio, e-audio, and then of course any type of ebooks, and then a second record that would include any type of media like a DVD or a Blu-ray. So this makes it really easy for your user to come in here and say, okay, I'm looking for a book, that one's on the shelf. I can click that quick copy. It'll show me where there's availability. So I can see there's one at my East branch. I can see there's one at my main branch. If I click that show edition, it will open up another row where I can drill down a little bit further. I can see some more information, physical description, date, things like that. The user can easily place a hold right from this interface on that particular information. Or if they scroll down to the bottom of the record, they can click on this more information. What that will do is that will take them into a more detailed view of the record. So now I can see a little more information. If I scroll down, I'll be able to see the description or that summary. I scroll down, I can see more like this. This will show me other titles that they suggest that I might like, based on this Gone Girl title. And then as I scroll down, I can see even more information. So some of the subject headings that are tied in, a few more details. And then if I do have a subscription with Novelist Select, that will tie in. So I can expand here and this will show me similar titles from Novelist, and then of course similar authors. So again, if you do have a subscription for Novelist, that will tie in. There is a free feature for those of you that like Goodreads. You can tie in reviews from Goodreads, and that will bring in any type of reviews tied into this particular title. So this is a nice way. Again, lots of individuals use Goodreads to track what they've read. So this is a nice way to tie in some of those reviews. The last thing you'll see down here is the staff view. So again, this will show you kind of the grouping information. Solar is the browser, the search engine that Aspen is using to pull all of this information together, so I can see that information. And then as I scroll down below, you can see that item information as well. All right, so let's talk about some of the social features that I like to call them. You can tie in things like allowing your patrons to do ratings. So over here on the left-hand side, you'll notice that there's some stars. Your users can click on those stars and give it a 1 to 5 rating. If they start doing ratings within the system, Aspen will start providing suggestions for them dependent on what they've liked. So, you know, if I've given Gone Girl 5 stars, it will then start recommending titles similar to this based on that. There are also options to add reviews. This would allow your user to come in and leave a review or a comment of what they thought about that particular title. So again, those are social settings that you know, you can leave for that particular item. Okay, let's talk about another search. For now, I'm going to do one for Harry Potter. And if you notice, I misplaced and I did not type in the R there. So let's say I was typing too fast or I just forgot. It is giving me the suggestions, but if I type too quickly and just hit that enter, you'll notice that it will actually show results for the correct spelling. So here you can see it's showing results for Harry, Harry Potter, rather than with just one R, but it does give me that option. So again, whether you're a fast typer like me sometimes and you just miss a letter, or you know, you're not quite sure how to spell it, it does bring in that spelling capability. So again, here's a great way that your users again can scroll through. They can look at those titles, place a hold, or check things out. Okay, I'm going to log into the system now so we can talk about placing holds and doing some e-content checkouts. So I am now gonna log into my account with my username and password. And that will take me into my account information. The user will be notified right away, so they can see that their account summary shows we have 4 checked out titles. I have 1 title on hold. If I come over here to the left-hand side, I'll have a quick menu here where I can look at my account. So I can hit those checked out titles, and it will even break it down for them. So I can see all of my titles that I have checked out, or I can just look at my physical materials so I can see the physical items that I have checked out. If I click on Overdrive, which is my preferred content maybe that I like to read from, I can see those 2 titles that I have checked out. I have an option to download it if there were multiple formats, let's say like Kindle and EPUB. I could choose my format and download it. I can also choose to read online. So what that'll do is that will open up a new tab for me, and it will open in a new window so I can read that. Now, Aspen is mobile responsive, so if I was on my phone, I'd be able to open that up. I could also open my Libby app if I was on my phone, and I would see that title in there right away. So again, Aspen's a great place to have all of that content in one location so your user can see what they have checked out physically and what they have checked out electronically. And then any other e-content providers that you have will also show up. So right now I also have RB Digital. So you can see that I have 1 title checked out here, and then I currently don't have any checked out with Cloud Library, but this will bring all of that information into one location. Right now we have Overdrive, RB Digital, Cloud Library, and Hoopla. You can also integrate Canopy into the system. The first 4 that I mentioned, Overdrive, RB Digital, Cloud Library, and Hoopla, those use an API so that information gets brought directly into Aspen. With Canopy, you upload the records into the system, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in administration. The other really nice thing about looking at your e-content in one place is you can also see the titles that are on hold. So if we come into that section right below, you'll notice that it'll show me my physical material, and then if I had any holds in Overdrive or RB Digital, I'd be able to see those right away. Again, now that most of us are at home and we're really relying heavily on our e-content material, this is a great time for people to see if there are any holds in that information. One last thing I'm going to point out here in our account information before we jump back to our searching is the reading history. A lot of times people will ask, I'd like to see my comprehensive reading history, both my print and my electronic. Well, guess what? You can see it here. So if I come into my reading history, you can see there's that e-audiobook that I have checked out from RB Digital. There's the one that I have from Overdrive. And as I go through, I can also see my print. Here's another EPUB that I checked out previously. And as I keep going through, there's another Overdrive. It's just really nice because now they don't have to go into multiple locations to look and see what they've checked out electronically and what they've checked out in print. Everything's in one. I'll go into a little more detail too about reading history when we get into the My Accounts. So I'm going to go back now and I'm going to search for Harry Potter again with the correct spelling this time. And let's go through what the hold process looks like. If I click on that place on hold, it will pop up a little image for me, and I can see here, place hold on Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. It defaults to my preferred pickup location or my branch, which is the main branch right now. There are options for me where I can say, always use this pickup location or log me out after requesting this item. You also have the option of, if you do have a multi branch set, you can select where they want to check it out. So let's say I'm at work and I'm driving home and the East Branch is closer for me. I can submit the hold request to pick it up there. It will immediately notify your user, letting them know that the hold was placed successfully, and it will tell them what number they are in the queue. So just giving them as much information as possible. Let's take a look at some series information so you can see how that looks. So maybe I'm interested in reading some of those Tom Clancy series, and what this will do is this will bring back a list of results. So a couple different things that I want to show you. First is, if it's in a series, you can see I can click on that series information directly from the brief view, or of course on the title. If I click on the series, it will take me in where I can see that information, or I can click directly on that title and it will take me in. And one thing I really like about this is it will show us any of the additional information about other titles in that series, so I can see that information right away. Okay, another big a nice integration that Aspen has is something that we call placards. I know when I was at a library, some of the things in our collection, we didn't always have marked records for, like Freegal, for example. And so sometimes it was hard to broadcast that we have this really great feature. What placards do is it allows you to create keywords. So if your user searches for, let's say, music, it could bring back a little notice that lets them know that you have Freegal available in your collection. So right now I just did a search for music and it brings back this little notification that says, looking for music, don't forget to check out Freegal. So this can be done for various different things. You can create keywords that will bring back little messages in your system. This is great for Mango languages too, especially again, now that people are at home and there's things that you want to highlight in your collection. If somebody did a search for language, you could have a pop-up for Mango languages. So there's lots of things that you can do with this to integrate it into your system. Another great one that I really like is the availability to what we refer to as crawling your website. So you can integrate content from your website directly into your discovery system. So a big thing would be, let's say meeting rooms. So if you allow your users to reserve rooms in the system, you can tie that information in. So you'll notice here as I'm scrolling down, after the first 2 hits, I'll have a little box that says explore more. And this will tie in anything that's matching my search results. So right now I just did a search for meeting rooms, and down in that explore more, you'll see I have a couple different options here. meeting rooms and spaces, Pueblo Library District, and then board meeting notices. So what this is doing is this is looking at the website and then bringing back any hits. So if I click on that meeting room, it will take me out to the website where I can begin that process to check out or make a reservation for a room. So a really nice way to integrate some of that information into the system. I think this is a great way, especially like, all the different programs that your library offers and things that, people may not think, I should rephrase that. People that think they can find things in the system often don't find them, and then they, forget about it. They walk away. This is just a really great way to bring all of that content into one location. Okay, I'm going to jump into my account again, and we'll go over a little more information about a few things that are in here. So we talked about our checked out material. We talked about our items on hold. Let's go into reading history. So, there's a couple different ways that we can handle reading history. Some libraries will anonymize reading history. So what that means is you are still retaining that circulation statistic, but we are essentially taking the patron's information out so it doesn't retain it. You can absolutely still do that. So you'll notice over here on the right-hand side, I have an option to stop recording my reading history, and that will give me a little pop-up that says opting out of reading history will also delete your entire reading history. So it lets them know right away. So I can say, okay, and then I'm presented with this screen. So if you're thinking about migrating to Aspen and you want to let your users opt in, this will be the first message that they see. So it'll talk to them about reading history, and it will let them know what they do if it's retained or if it's not. And then they have the choice of coming in and saying, start recording my reading history. So again, there's options that you can use when you're setting things up in the system. Finds and messages. This will go into detail and let your user know what type of fines they have in the system. So here you can see that I do have 2 fines, one for a new card and one for an overdue. You can tie in PayPal integration, and this would allow your user to pay via PayPal, to pay via credit card, and easily take care of those fines in the system. The next thing we have access to is materials request, and this is just like a purchase suggestion. So this would allow your patron to come in here. They could select a title that they would like to request in the library, and then submit that request, and that would come back over on the staff side where the user could kind of follow that request. If it's been approved by the library, they'd be able to see that information as well. The next thing is titles that you've rated. So if you turn this feature on, allowing your users to rate, so you can see here I have one for Gone Girl with 5 stars, and of course one for 3 stars with Dark Places. This will show the user what they've rated. They do have the option to come over here and clear it at any time. And once they do start rating things, Aspen will begin recommending titles for them. So now I can come in here and kind of take a look at items that were recommended for me based on things that I've liked in the system. So just a nice way for your users to kind of expand what they're reading. Now let's talk a little bit about their account settings. So the first thing is my preferences. Now, right now I have my Aspen Discovery system set up to my Koha ILS. So this is integrating with my Koha system. So this will look very similar. There are other ILSs, of course, for any of our listeners out there who may be using a different ILS other than Koha, and Mark will go into a little more detail about that when we're in administration. You'll be able to see that ILS setup. So the first thing is my preferences. So I can see that my home branch is main library, but then I can also set like an alternate library. And this is one thing as a patron that I truly do appreciate. if I'm driving back from my mom and dad's house and, there may be another branch that's closer on the way home, I can set that as alternates. That way, if I want to send something there quickly, I can do that as well. Contact information. So again, this is going to bring in the identity information and kind of that contact information for your user. So email, phone number, address information in the system. Now, you do have an option to update that contact information. So if they have they got a new cell phone number, they can update that, and that will send a message over to the ILS. Our messaging settings. Again, this is tied into my Koha ILS, so this will show me the messaging settings, very similar to what I have in Koha. So I can see any of those proactive messages that I have. So item due, advance due, hold filled, letting me know when my hold is ready for pickup. I can get a message about any checkouts that I've recently done or any items that I've returned to the library. And then the options that I can see here are currently SMS and email. So down below, I do have my SMS number and provider available, so I can receive SMS notices. And of course, if I want to say, I also want to be notified about those hold fills, I can update my settings in here as well. Okay. Let's talk about linked accounts. This is a nice way to link accounts between multiple people, whether it's in your family or if you're a caregiver for another individual's. Information that will appear here will be checkouts and holds from that main account. So this is an option that you can turn on or turn off. So if you have no interest in linking accounts in your system, you can actually turn this feature off and it would not be visible. But if you do, and you want to allow, spouses or significant others, or again, caregivers, if I take care of my mom and I want to be able to pick up for her, I can do that as well. Finally, down here, you're going to see overdrive options. Again, and that's going to tie into the e-content provider that I have in the system. The last thing I want to talk about here in my account is my lists. And so this allows me to create a list in the system and then add titles to that list. So very similar to Koha, where I can add those things into the system, just a nice way to keep track of, maybe I'm working on a DIY project, maybe I love to cook and I have a bunch of cookbooks in there, whatever it may be. I can create a list, add titles in there, and then email it to myself, print it, whatever it may be. Okay, now to wrap things off before we let Mark go in and talk about admin, I want to talk about some of the features that we have here on this first screen. So we talked about the search. Let's talk about some of the options that we have down below. So I think one of the most attractive things about Aspen is you have these beautiful cover images that are giving either recommendations for you. You can see we have one for teens, for kids, and I'll scroll through. Once I'm logged into my account, and again, because I reviewed things, Aspen is recommending things for me. So right on this first page, I can kind of scroll through by images and just see, what I might be interested in. There is an option to change it to a grid. So, depending on how your user likes to view things, they can switch between the two. And as I scroll through, you'll kind of see these. Now, these are what we refer to as spotlights. So you can curate this content so it's available for your users. So again, at a time when we're closed and we want to highlight all of the amazing titles that we have in our ebook collection and our e-audio collection, this is a perfect time to add these out. The Public Library Association was last month. Gosh, it's a little more than a month now. And when we were there, Mark created this awesome spotlight for Nashville. So, this allows us to highlight certain titles that are essentially available, in that collection. So there's a ton of things for you to highlight. Another thing I'd like to talk about is the New York Times API. How many of you each week go through and build lists for the New York Times bestseller in Koha? My hand is in the air if yours is too. And there is an API that will automatically go out and find what those titles are and then bring them back. You, of course, still have to catalog the title in your system, but it brings out a list of those New York Times bestsellers, and then it will look in your collection and see what you have available. So it's an awesome way to kind of highlight what's on that New York Times bestseller so your users can see it. So, you know, it's just a really great way to kind of highlight those different items in your collection. And of course, you can see here available ebooks, and then I can even break it down by subcategories. So fiction, nonfiction, autobiographies, detectives, you know, fantasy, whatever you want. These spotlights can be driven from lists. They can also be driven from searches. One of my bucket lists items is to hike the Appalachian Trail one day. So I did a search for Appalachian Trail in the system, and then I created a spotlight based on that search. So there's great ways to kind of curate that information in the system. One last thing I'll talk about is the advanced search. The advanced search really allows your users to kind of drill down and really look for additional information in the system. So if I do a search for archives, I can come down below and I can add a search field, and it will allow me to, you know, drill down and select a special heading. And then I have my optional filters. So I can say I'm looking for a particular format or category, reading levels, format, e-content, and as I hit those drop downs, of course, you can see that information, a specific author or series, item type, language, and so on. So the user can really drill down, even if they're looking for a specific publication dates. Once I hit that find, you know, it will come back and it will look for those results. And again, you know, after those first two, you can see that information where it brings back those results, and especially that explore more. So for any of our listeners out there, if you have any archive information, Aspen can integrate with archive information as well. So this explore more can actually link out to like open archives, so you can see that information as well. If you're looking for some great real life examples, Uenta Library has integration with archives, and that's a great place to start. Pueblo has great integration with website information. So again, there's, you know, 4 different catalogs that you can go in and kind of just look around if you're interested in seeing those real life results. So I am going to pause, and I am going to spin things over to Mark Noble now. And Mark is going to go through and he's going to talk about some of the information on the administrative side.
Thanks, Jesse. All right, let's take a quick look at the admin interface, and we'll explore some of the things you can do. I'm going to log in with my administrator account. We tie your administrator accounts to your regular library usernames, so your regular library barcodes, just to make it easy for you. So we'll log in here. First, I want to show you a few of the reports. So we've got a whole report section here. So if you want to use something like Google Analytics, we'll certainly integrate with Google Analytics. But if you don't want to, or if you just want some stats on Aspen itself, we've got a usage dashboard here. So we can see information just about page views, how many requests are happening, how many covers, kind of for this month, last month, all time, errors, how many searches are happening, that kind of thing, just so you can kind of get a general idea of usage. There was a question in the chat a little while ago about could we see stats on all the different e-content sources? And that's something that's built in as well. So we've got a dashboard for each e-content source, so Overdrive, RB Digital, Cloud Library. If you have Hoopla, that would show up there, as well as anything that's been side-loaded, so things that don't have API integrations, we can still load the MARC records. So here, Overdrive, this is a test system, so we don't have a ton of active users, but we can see we do have some Some active users, so these are the unique users. How many different records are being used, whether it's being checked out or placed on hold. How many checkouts, how many holds are happening, that kind of thing. So you can kind of see if you're getting a spike in holds or checkouts. We can also see, so those are kind of our reports. They're general, very anonymous information that's available. Let's look at maybe creating, updating our system message. So say we unfortunately just got extended out to the end of April for our closure. So let's go into the system administration for our library, and we'll update that closure message. So this administration panel is designed really to work great, whether you're a single branch, a multi-branch library, or even a consortium. So the goal is to make it really easy for you to administer, no matter how big you are. So we can go through, and we're editing our main library. We're going to just change this to say we're going to be closed until the 30th. And let's say now we're at the point where we know our physical collection is going to be inaccessible for the rest of the month. So we really don't want people to place holds. So we have the ability just to easily go through and say, okay, let's go down to my hold section. Let's remove the hold button for now for all of that physical materials. And we'll just save those changes. So now we can see that we're closed until the 30th. And if we do another search for Harry Potter, we'll see that all of the place hold buttons are no longer there for the book and the audiobook, but we can still use that e-content information. So lots and lots of configuration options for you so that you can really personalize the catalog the way that you want it. Because we recognize that no two libraries are exactly the same, and everybody does things a little bit differently. So same thing, we can customize all of the different facets. So if we wanted to go in, we can see a list of all of the facets that are available. So we've got different kind of our defaults for public libraries, schools, consortia, academic. We can go through and modify those, turn those on or off. We've got about 30 different facets that you can use. So if, for example, you don't do accelerated reader, you could easily just remove those facets so that your patrons wouldn't have to see those. And then when you save those, they're updated. If we want to create something like a new browse category, so to update that homepage again, so let's go to browse the catalog. So let's say that we want to add a new Western category for available ebooks. So I'm going to start just by clicking on the fiction category. And I'm just going to narrow by subject. So we're going to select our Westerns under the fiction category. And we can certainly select multiple categories if we wanted. So, but in this case, the Westerns is enough. Let's apply that filter. Now, because I'm logged in with the proper permissions, down at the bottom of the search results, I have the ability to add that to a browse. So we can say, add that to a browse. We're going to call this Westerns. And that is going to go under our available e-audio category. So we'll just create that category, and it shows up on the home page. So if we go back and look at our home page, I put it under e-audio instead of audio. We can correct that as well. So there's our Westerns, and we can go through and change how those are sorted as well. So if we wanted to, we could go into our configuration and look at those browse categories. So we can look at our browse categories and our available e-audio, and we can just drag those up and down. So if our most important thing was our Westerns, we can certainly move that in priority so that that's right after our nonfiction. So super easy to move around and change. And now we go back to our e-audio. Westerns is our third category instead of the last one. Similarly to that, we have the ability to feature any list or any search as a collection spotlight. And this is something that you can embed into your own website. So it's very similar to adding it to the home page. Instead, we're going to say create spotlight. And we're going to create a new one. We're just going to call this Western eBooks. We'll create that spotlight. So here we get an embeddable display. Let's just edit that real quick. So this is going to be based off of our search results, just blank search. So there is our Western spotlight. We've got about 5 different displays for this. So we can do either this kind of horizontally scrolling view. We can do a vertical view. We can do a single title. We can make things automatically rotate. We can do a list of titles. So if we wanted to, we could edit this and say, let's make this a single title with a next button that automatically rotates. We can choose the cover size. We can customize whether ratings are shown and that kind of thing as well. So here we've got it with a different view. These are all super easy to embed into your website. They just all use iframes, and we've got the code for you so that you can just embed it yourself. And then Jessie mentioned the ILS settings. So as she said, we have the ability to integrate with really any ILS. Whether you're using Symphony, Horizon, Sierra, Millennium, Carlex, really Koha, you can, obviously Koha, you can integrate Aspen with your system. So some of the individual functionality is a little bit different. Certainly how we map things are different. So we've got an extensive administration panel again in order to go through and customize how the records are exported and that kind of thing. So certainly a lot of the administration can be a little daunting the first time you look at it. Part of our implementation process is walking you through all of it so that it's set up exactly the way your library wants it when you go live.
Mark, we just had a question actually come in about ILS, and Jane is asking if they can use Aspen's Discovery to link 2 separate ILSs, one Koha, one Sierra, to allow patrons to place holds in either system to be delivered to their home library of choice.
That is a wonderful question, and we have done that in the past. I've done it before with a Carlex and a library solution system. So Aspen sat on top of both of the ILSs. In a lot of ways, the quote unquote easy part is the Aspen part. The hard part is making sure you've got all of the policies between those 2 systems. So that, for example, if we need to know just which ILS a library is from, or sorry, a patron is from. So when we go to place hold, we just need to know which ILS that patron should be placing holds in. If you're doing courier traffic between the two different systems, making sure you've got the patrons in it, in both systems potentially. Those are some of the things to work out. But yeah, it will definitely work on top of two ILSs. It's a little tricky, but it does work.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. So for all of our listeners out there, do you have any other additional questions for us about functionality, integration, migration to a discovery system that Mark or I can answer? Do any academic libraries currently use Aspen?
There are academic libraries using it as part of a consortium. So Community College of Aurora is using it as part of the Aspen Cat consortium at this point.
I actually have their URL pulled right up, and you probably do too, Mark, but yeah, there. Let's see. Here, I'll share my screen. We can show you real quick what that looks like. So as Mark mentioned, they are part of Aspen Cat, but Aspen has great functionality for consortiums, so they can customize not only the interface, but the URL as well. So if you look up top, it says aurora.catalog.aspen.info. And earlier I showed you the main catalog page for Aspen Cat. So this is the Community College of Aurora. So you can see it has that beautiful integration of their color and their theme. And then they can highlight, different collections and things like that. Okay, next question. Is the migration handled by Bywater, or is it something that we can do on our own? We do provide migration, and I'll let Mark talk about this a little more because he handles the migration and he's our Aspen team lead.
Yeah, I think we would suggest that you use us for your migration. It is certainly an open source product that can be set up on its own. But we would certainly suggest having us do the migration for you or with you. Just it is a relatively complex product. So
we have another question from Valerie, and Valerie's asking, does it integrate databases as well? And so Valerie, I know you're out at Westminster. So we are talking to EBSCO to have integration with EBSCO, and I'll let Mark talk about some of the other databases, but if there's one in particular that you're thinking about, or a few, if you can let us know and we could kind of go into more detail about that.
Yeah, I would say right now both EBSCO and EBSCO host, so EDS integration as well as EBSCO host integration are ongoing. They're not ready to show yet, but we are actively working on them. We've had discussions with EBSCO and we'll be working on that. The other databases, it all kind of depends on the APIs. So we'd be looking at it on a case-by-case basis to see if we can build in complete integration, or if it's something where those placards that Jesse was showing earlier would be the best solution.
Awesome. We have another question from Cecile, and she asked, does cataloging happen in the ILS or at Aspen? So yes, you could still catalog in your ILS, but there is options within Aspen for side loading. So for example, if you have Canopy MARC records, you can side load those into Aspen. And then you can also do some manual grouping. So with Aspen, your records will be grouped together, but let's say one is missed, or you find two records that should have been grouped together. There is an option within Aspen but for the most part, you would be cataloging within your ILS.
One other thing to note is that for things like Overdrive, Hoopla, RB Digital, Cloud Library, you don't need to load those titles into your ILS. We do use their APIs. So you don't have to worry about loading those. You don't have to worry about weeding those. We can pull them all in directly via the APIs, which is just our way of having two servers talk to each other. So save your catalogers a little time if they'd like to.
Which is awesome because then they don't have to worry about pulling the records out when the
Nope.
25 licenses are up
Nope.
and all of those other things. So that's amazing. Okay, we have another question from Andrew. JSTOR or ProQuest integration?
So those would be the type of integrations that we need to look at to see what their APIs look like, to see what kind of functionality we could do. I believe both do have APIs, so we just need to evaluate them and make sure that they would work seamlessly with Aspen. But
Great. Well, as those questions are still coming in, I'm gonna just show you just a quick look at our redesign that we're working on of Aspen. A group of us here at Bywater, including Mark and myself and Brendan Gallagher and Nick Karula and Lucas Goss, we've been working with a website firm to do a little redesign of Aspen. And so we're working on, kind of making it easier for your users to find information, search for things, browse by different genres, and give a new look and feel to the Aspen interface. We're still working with them and still in the initial phases of reviewing things, but we just wanted to kind of give you a sneak peek of what the redesign is starting to look like. Okay, we have a few more questions that came in. Alex is asking, I'm interested in setting up a self-hosted installation of Aspen Discovery for testing. Is setup documentation available?
I guess I would say yes and no. There are definitely some scripts to help speed up installation, especially for Koha installs. I would say there's definitely gaps, and that's places that we'd be looking for community members to help us fill out some of that documentation. So we'd be happy to work with you if you wanted to help improve the documentation.
Absolutely, and I'm just pulling up, there is the GitHub site, and I can share this URL as well, but it is up on GitHub if you're interested.
And then there was, go ahead.
Oh,
Say there's a related question about which programming or databases languages should somebody be familiar with. So right now, Aspen is a combination of Java, PHP, JavaScript. On the back end, it's using MySQL for the database and Solr for the indexing.
great. Okay, well, we'll be here for a few more minutes. So if anyone has any additional questions, please let us know. Mark and I are always available for questions afterwards. If you're interested in seeing a more advanced demo, or if you want to bring your staff to one, we'd be happy to do that for you. Please feel free to reach out to either Adam or Josh. You can also email sales@bywatersolutions.com and we can set up an additional demo for you as well. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today for a demo of the Aspen Discovery interface. And again, please feel free to reach out to us at any time if you have any additional questions. Take care of yourselves and stay safe out there. Have a good day. Thank you.